Hey everyone, welcome to a live stream of Tour4Kids Stage 6. It is the final stage, and we are here with first place right now. It's going to be El Galbraith from Pronto Bikes, and he's currently got a 20-second lead on the rest of the group, and he seems to be holding that pretty well, but the group behind does look like they are going to catch in a bit. You can see Galbraith just rounding the corner there, taking it nice and steady. Everyone seems to be pacing pretty well in this climb. And last year we saw some times in the low 40s, and we'll see if anybody gets sub 40 this time. I think that there are definitely some riders who are capable, just a matter of pacing and how good of a day they are having today. If you are watching the stream right now, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps support the channel. And yeah, let's get on with the stream. So this is really interesting here. Galbraith actually had a huge gap on everyone else, and now it looks like the gap has been closed with Gotts and Eric Rice just flying right by. They're holding around 5 to 6 watts per kilo, and we'll see if they can sustain that for the entire time. And something to note is that Gotts is on Z power, meaning that power data might not be the most accurate, but Eric now has around a 7-second gap on the rest of the group. So if he can hold this, he has a very good shot at getting close to that GC. The gap here is continuing to grow, and it is pretty amazing to see this gap, and it is now way more than 10 seconds. We're at 13 seconds right now, and it's just continuing to grow more and more and more, which is probably getting these riders behind a bit worried, because they're all looking to take that GC, and these two riders could definitely be a threat to that. It probably does sound like I'm out of breath, and that's because I am currently riding the stage right now and live streaming at the same time, so please excuse the background noise and the fact that I am out of breath right now. So you can see that Eric is continuing to hold on to Gotts, and they're just holding a very nice pace here, around 5 watts per kilo, and that will probably get them maybe around 41 minutes. And that's when now Gotts just sprints right off the front, and Eric is saying that he can no longer keep up with him, and that definitely does make sense, because Gotts is holding a blistering 6 watts per kilo up this climb, which is something that I have never seen on this Tour4Kids stage. This is a stage that happens every year, and Tour4Kids happens twice a year, so it does happen every edition. And this time we decided to put it at the end just to spice things up a bit and really make things interesting for the GC. KOM points are available at the top 2, so that is another incentive for riders to go for this climb, because we haven't had many KOM points offered in this edition because we've had some various routes that don't include KOM segments. Eric here at 190 beats per minute. It's looking very dangerous for him, because if he cannot actually hold this pace for the rest, he is going to blow up, and the other riders like Paul and Frederick, they're all just going to come flying by and pass him and end up taking that stage win. I know that Eric is definitely looking to take a stage win here, and that's going to be very tough with these riders behind, holding around 5 watts per kilo steady now. They're just about to round corner number 17, and that means that they are around a fifth of the way through this race, and it is a pretty big stage because of all the climbing. Eric is continuing to push the pace on the front, and looks like Gotts is maybe struggling a bit. Looking at him, he does not have a heart rate monitor, but he does have power and cadence, which is all that is required. And Eric just really pushing on the front here. He's trying to gain that lead because the riders behind are definitely closing the gap, and this is going to make things very dangerous for them. Let's take a look at Frederick and Paul. Looks like they are doing pretty good here, holding a very steady pace. Paul at around 190 beats per minute, which is probably not ideal for him because he does have a max heart rate of around 210, 215, but that does give him around 20 beats per minute to work with, and he is just holding that pace very steady, which is probably the best way to tackle the Alp. Just nice and steady with good pacing. He is continuing to lose a little bit of time to Eric, but he is keeping the gap pretty nice with around 28 seconds now, and it's going to around 30 seconds, but all he needs is to keep Eric within 4 minutes to take that GC. And Frederick is definitely looking for some time over Paul, because Frederick is currently in second place, I believe, and he looks like he's going to try to make a move probably around halfway through the climb to really just see if he can edge out Paul for that finishing sprint and take the win there. Gotts looks like it's dropped off Eric's back, and Eric's continuing to push on. He's got 30 seconds, and he's continuing to hold a pretty steady pace, but it's not going to be enough to hold the chasers off because he is doing 4.5 while the chasers are doing close to 5.5. I think that this is actually slower than last year's edition. Last year, the average 20-minute power for the top riders was around 4.9 watts per kilo, but this pacing definitely looks to be a lot better. Looks like Eric here coming up to the turn of bend 15, and this is definitely a lot faster to watch than actually ride. And going back to myself, looks like I am on corner 19. I'm getting there, but I'm just taking this chill. Had a hard ride yesterday, and yeah, it's pretty fun to commentate and watch these other riders tackle the stage. Eric here pushing on the pace, 25 seconds. It's closing down slightly, and Eric is probably getting pretty worried at that point. And if I were him, I'd probably drop back and join Paul and Frederick, try to really just draft them and maybe go around the halfway point to try to really beat them when they are getting fatigued, rather than here at the start where they are feeling fresh and they have the legs to chase. The gap between Gotts holding pretty steady, but it looks like Gotts is closing it a little bit. 4-second gap now. You see that the gap is going back to 28 seconds. This is definitely going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. And let's take a look at the rider who was off the front earlier. Looks like he's slowed down quite a bit. This was a rider who was bold enough to make that breakaway early on in the race, so shout out to him for having the guts to do that. He's currently holding steady around 3 watts per kilo. He's got Jay Jalving in his sight from Denmark, and he's currently sitting in 11th. He is also pretty high in the GC, so he's probably also looking for a pretty good finish today. Going back up to Paul and Eric. Eric now with the 31-second gap. Paul is going to want to watch that gap because once it slips away, it's gone. It looks like Gott's back on Eric's wheel. And this is actually very good for Eric because Gotts will push the pace of Eric and really help him get that really fast Alp time. I'm not quite sure what the fastest Alp time is, but I know Bertie Whittleson, another rider from BYT, is an extremely good climber, and I believe he may have done a sub 40 Alp, which is insane, and that's pretty close to pro level. So it is really amazing to see what these juniors are doing. Gott's here, 5 watts per kilo, really just holding steady. He's doing pretty good with his pacing, holding around 5 watts per kilo. No erratic spikes or anything like that, because those definitely burn your legs out. And Eric's still sitting around 180, 190 beats per minute, so that's pretty good for him. And he's got a little bit of room to work with. As long as he just keeps his pace steady, he can definitely pull off the stage win. Paul, I think, definitely probably has the GC because of how big of a gap he currently has on the rest of the riders. Taking a look back at the results, Eric does need 6 minutes in order to take that GC. So I don't think this is going to be possible for him, but he is very capable of taking the stage win with now a 41-second gap and pressing on, trying to edge out Gotts there, who is now 2 seconds behind. And the thing about the Alp is that time gaps grow really quickly. 1 second, you're at side by side with another rider. The next second, they're just gone. So you really just need to stay close to them and make sure that they do not catch you sleeping. Okay, so Eric is now over a third of the way through this climb. So he is making progress very quickly. Heart rate is back up to 191. So this is looking pretty dangerous for him. He's going to want to keep that pace steady to make sure the heart rate does not go too high to the point where he cannot bring it back down and relax. Looks like he's easing off a bit. He now has almost a minute on the rest of the group, which is quite insane if you think about how fast the chasers are going. They're holding around 5 watts per kilo steady, which is going to get them around a 43-minute Alp. So Eric just really pushing the pace here, and it's fun to see all this competition between these riders. Okay, so I have the fan on now, so if the audio is pretty bad, please let me know and I'll get this adjusted, but let me know how this audio is right now. We are back from the break, and we are here with Eric Rice currently, and he's got 6 seconds on God still, now 7 seconds, and his gap from Paul and Frederick has closed down quite a bit. It is now just over 40 seconds, and Eric is now using his featherweight boost, meaning he is suffering quite a bit. So everybody head on to your companion apps, give him a ride on, and give him a ride on for this really strong ride that he's put out today. Then take a look here. Frederick is at 191. Paul is at the same heart rate, so they seem to be doing pretty well here. And Frederick seems to be pacing Paul a bit and really just keeping that pace steady. We could see Frederick try to make a move here when it gets into the steeper slopes towards the top of the climb, because in order to take this GC, he only needs 50 seconds on the group, meaning all he has to do is really just bridge up to Eric and he has a GC. Last year, Paul won the GC, so there is quite a bit of competition between these two riders. They were very close on this climb, I remember last time, and they've both improved a ton as riders. And Paul here seems to be slipping off the back of Frederick. He's going to turn on that drafting boost because Frederick just used his featherweight, so some very big competition between these two. And looks like they are continuing to stick together. And Eric now with a 45-second gap. He is pressing on turn 9. He's over halfway through this climb. He is probably really suffering right now. So kudos to him for making that move early on and really trying to get that GC time made up, because he fell quite a bit behind because he did miss 2 stages, whereas these other 2 riders, they came to every single stage and they definitely showed up on all of them. So riding the stage solo for Lorraine is definitely pretty tough because you have no one to pace you, no one to stick with, really no motivation to keep pushing the power other than that GC motivation. Okay everyone, I am back, and look at this. We've got Eric here pushing 245 watts here, and he's just really pushing that pace. Gods is on his heel, 7 seconds back, and that can be closed very quickly. You can see Paul here now 50 seconds back, so the gap is continuing to grow back because he had 50 seconds earlier, but he eased off a bit to really just get a breather. And now it looks like he is back on track for that really fast help time. 50 seconds. It's continuing to grow because Frederick and Paul are doing just over 4 watts per kilo now. I don't think this is the best that we've seen from them. I know that last year they were pushing 5 watts per kilo almost the entire time. It was crazy to watch, but that can only be done so many times. And yeah, Gott's still 8 seconds back now. Eric just really pushing that power. 260 watts, 239, 290. He is absolutely giving it everything he has left. And for some background information about Eric, he is a rider outside who competed in many tours for his team in Portugal, and he doesn't seem to be doing much training anymore because it is off season, and I think he has decided to take a break of really that competitive cycling. So it's great to see him here pushing the power and really giving it every last watt. Now to focus on these two riders here, Frederick Rosing Skau. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing it right, so please correct me if I'm wrong. And he does some riding outdoors. He trains and rides with a club, IRL, so it is good to see all these riders really making the most of their off season by joining Tour4Kids. This is something that I worked really hard with Paul to create, and it's just amazing how far we've built this tour. And yeah, we've gotten so many new riders over the years, and I've met so many other cyclists. It's really a great way to meet riders who kind of enjoy the same things as you, and yeah, it's a great way to meet people in different parts of the world. I'm in the US and they're all the way in Europe. Paul's in Spain, Frederick is in Denmark, Eric's in Portugal. It's just, you can ride with so many different people around the world. It's amazing what Zwift has done and what I've done with Paul to make this. Let's take a look at the overhead view. Frederick now, he has climbed 2,100 feet. He is 2/3 of the way through this, not 2/3, yeah, 2/3 of the way through this climb, and he is pushing on. Paul seems to be slightly off the back, but he's gonna quickly get back on there. And some background about Paul: he does ride outside sometimes, but mostly indoors, and he rides for Sun Sports, which is a triathlon company in Spain. So he's representing Spain here, but he is actually from the Netherlands, so he's got the Netherlands flag in Zwift. And they seem to be continuing to lose time to Eric. Eric now with 1 minute and 7 seconds. This is just amazing to see how deep these riders are going. And Eric now on these final 6 turns of the Alpe d'Huez, a replica of Alpe d'Huez, a climb that many juniors dream of riding in the World Tour, but very few get to go there. And I think that some of these riders that have been riding Tour4Kids definitely have the potential to be riding in the World Tour later on in their lives. And we will all be able to say that we rode with them when we were juniors. So we're pretty cool. And he's approaching turn 6 here. Really just holding that pace steady around 3 to 4 right now on this long drag. And he's still holding that 1 minute and 9 second gap. Gott's here is putting in a really strong effort. He's been holding super steady power. Just Eric has been able to put some small punches in to really make that gap. And now you can see he's got 16 seconds on Eric, 15 seconds now. He's slowly closing that gap. He might catch up again, but then fall back shortly after, because it seems to be what's been happening with these two riders. Gott's holding steady in second place though. Extremely strong effort, and I think that he's going to go in the low 40s, which is really amazing, and that definitely deserves some bragging rights. Lars Henrik here, who is holding a pretty good position in the GC. Looks like he's holding around 200 watts, which is really, really strong for a U15 rider. Around 175 beats per minute, and he's holding around 4 watts per kilo. Really strong ride from him. Bringing it up to around 5 now, and he's approaching turn 7. he really is not that far behind these other riders. 3 minutes back may seem like a lot, but it really is not that much when you take into consideration how much distance is between the two. It's less than a turn. Okay, now Noah Rai, he is, I think, 4th in the GC. He's been coming to every stage, very committed, and he's rocking that S5 with, I believe these are NV 3.4s. Yup, and that's a sweet setup, I gotta be honest. And he's got those KOM gloves matched with it. He's 1 minute behind Lars, so there is a chance that if he can bring together some extra power towards the end, or if Lars blows up towards the end, he can definitely catch up and pull into 5th to take that final top 5 position. Jenko Wiak is doing amazing. Looks like it's a very small rider because of the watts per kilo to watts ratio. Really strong ride from him, and he's gonna get an amazing time for a rider of his age. Take a look at this. Amazing camera view here, I like that. And looks like behind him is actually Julian Jones from Mission Devo, a team in the US. So great to see some more US representation here. He's scoring the Canyon Speed Max, and that's a really interesting choice because you can actually draft on this climb. So it's really interesting to see the setup that he chose for this climb. Okay, you can see James Roberts coming into the chat here. He's a rider who has joined in previous editions, another very strong rider who has definitely got the legs to compete with these other riders. He hasn't been able to really come because of cross country clashing with the times here, because it is coming towards the end of cross country season. I know California State Meet was recently, and that was, I think, yesterday, and the other state meets are around this time. Then Nike Cross Nationals are later on in the year, in December-ish. Okay, then we've got V Jalving right here, and he is crushing it. He's still got a good gap on Galbraith, so it is amazing to see all these riders coming out to race here. Heart rate of around 146, so putting out a very strong ride here. He is just about 2/3 of the way through this climb, and towards the top it seems to quicken, but the start is very slow and you feel like you aren't making any progress, but you eventually push through it and you get towards the top, then it all feels much better. Galbraith, the rider who was actually the one who did the breakaway early on, looks like he's kind of paid for it, but it's amazing to see all these riders trying new things, because that's what Tour4Kids is all about. It's all about having fun and putting out your best effort. That's definitely what Galbraith did in the starting half of this race. Then there's me. I'm just chilling. I'm tired, so why not just chill? Back to first place, because that's much more interesting than watching my avatar slowly make the way up this climb. Eric now with 1 minute 21 on the rest of the riders. He is getting extremely close, and he can definitely feel it. He is slowly making up his way up this climb, holding around 200 watts, and that is going to be enough to get him this win, I believe, unless he eases off dramatically. He's got this in the bag. Gott's here, 4 watts per kilo, seems to be struggling a bit, and if he does end up blowing up, Paul and Frederick can definitely catch. But it seems to be holding steady. 1 minute 5 second gap on Paul and Frederick. So everyone here just putting out an amazingly strong ride. I'm not quite sure where I would be in this group, but probably around the area of Lars. But too tired to race this out with today. I'm a wimp. Let's see. Paul here, pushing 7 watts per kilo right now. Looks like he's trying to make a move, and he's really giving it his all right now. He is trying to make sure that he has secured that GC, and Frederick is not going to let that happen. He is 1 second back, and he seems to be closing that small gap that Paul had. Pushing 7 to 8 watts per kilo now. It's just amazing to see this. Okay, now Frederick looked like he was going to counter there, but would have been a great opportunity to just fly off the front and see if he could do some damage. Heart rate up to 200 for both of these riders. They're digging very deep. They know that the finish is close, and one of them just needs to edge out the other for that GC. This is some of the closest competition we have had in Tour4Kids in the GC competition, because some of the most dedication I've seen. These riders really making sure they show up to these races, give it their all, racing back to back. It's awesome to see this. Now, let's take a look at Eric now. 1 minute 15. He's using that featherweight. He knows he is close. He has 2 turns left, and he can just smell that finish. He can taste the win. Ready. He's ready to strike. 7 watts per kilo right now, and surging even more. Really gaining that gap that he needs in order to gain some slots in the GC. He might be able to move into, I'm not quite sure if he's going to move into second, but he's going to need to gain a lot of time on these final 2 turns. He's really pushing it. 192 beats per minute, so he's giving it his all. And Gott's here, 19 seconds back from Eric. I think he has secured his spot in this race, but it is going to be close. These riders can really push it and catch up to Gott's there, who is 50 seconds up the road. Then this can definitely happen. Frederick is going to want to make some time up here, and if he wants to, he's got to make a move right now. Otherwise, the GC ambitions are gone for him. I'm not quite sure where he stands in the points GC, because there are prizes to win in the points GC. I just realized that I have not mentioned that there are prizes available for this tour. I'm offering tons of prizes, because prizes are fun. They give riders a time to push. So we've got a few things up for grabs. Winners of the GC for points and time will get the choice of a few different prizes. Then one random rider who will complete at least 3 stages will win another prize. And those prizes are specified on my website, ZRaceCentral.com. Head over there for those details. And yeah, see, I'm on turn 9 right now. I am far behind, but it's all good. Eric here, pushing 5 watts per kilo. Now he's got a 118 gap. It's going to be enough to pull off this stage win, but not quite enough to take that GC. He really put in a crazy effort, and I'm super excited to see what his time is on this climb. And take a quick look back, see at what point do we actually start the Alp, and it is looking like if you subtract 8 minutes from his current time, then you are going to get his Alp time. So he's at 39 minutes right now. He's not going to be breaking 40 minutes, but he's going to be super close. It's going to be one of the fastest Alps we've ever seen in Tour4Kids. It might not edge out Birdie, but he's certainly getting close. And he's got around a minute and a half left of this race, and he's just going to bring it up. I'm going to send a quick message here. Really encourage these riders. And just answering a quick chat here. Okay, Eric here. He's got 30 seconds on Gods and almost a minute and a half on Frederick and Paul. He is going to do this, it looks like, and he is holding an incredible power here 5 watts per kilo now. Almost 6. He is pushing it with everything he has left. God seems to be closing the gap slightly. He's not going to have enough time to make up that ground. But after this, we're going to feature the other riders who are still further down the road. Eric here, giving it everything he has left. 192 beats per minute. He's got this in the bag, but he knows that the GC will not be happening for him this edition of Tour4Kids. I suspect he will probably be back next edition in January. So stay tuned for details about that releasing soon. And Gott's now. The gap is only 24 seconds. Eric's going to need to pick this up, keep that pace high, and to really solidify his win on this stage. Frederick and Paul, 1 minute 25 back. Eric pushing 8 watts per kilo. This is just insane to see. And he's giving it every last watt. He is so close. He's at 41 minutes right now. And everybody drop this rider a ride on. Eric Rice, cut Juice with companion app and give him that thumb to support him on this climb. God's now 17 seconds back. He closed that gap insanely quick. Eric here, getting so close to the finish. Once he crests this peak here, he is going to get to the top. And then he has 1/10 of a mile left after that to make sure that we get those times in on Zwift Power. Eric is going to come in there with around a 41-minute climb, and he's just going to get to that final stretch here. Gott's catching up here. Looks like Gott's had a really strong time, and let's try to get back into the race here. Then we've got Paul and Frederick up the road. Frederick is not going to be able to do the GC this time. Looks like he is going to finish alongside Paul. Frederick might be able to get a few seconds here and there, but it's not going to be the 50 seconds that he needed in order to take this GC from Paul. Just quickly adding the event Zwift Power because I forgot to do that earlier, and now I can go back to commentating. These riders matching each other at 7 watts per kilo. This is just crazy. These riders so close to each other. They stuck with each other for the entire race. Frederick is going to push for those extra few seconds. Paul knows that he has secured the GC for the second time in a row. He's going to be the defending champ. 43 minutes for these two riders, and that is crazy. Looks like they're just going to come around the corner. But Paul knows that the race isn't over yet. Could Paul pass Frederick? It looks like the race is over. Okay, never mind. But back to the race here. And we are here with Lars Henrik. 4.7 watts per kilo. He's getting close. He's on turn 2. And he's giving it every last watt he has for that finishing position, because he knows he has a chance at a good position in the GC. This is really fun to watch, and hope you all are enjoying the broadcast. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Help support the channel. And yeah. He has finished turn 2, and he is heading up the final turn of the climb. Lars Henrik here, making his way to the top, and just taking a quick break there because I am trying to make my way up this climb. Oh, this is tough. Lars here, 180 watts, putting around 4 to 5 watts per kilo. He is going to come in with an amazing time of sub 50 on the Alp, and he's just got a little bit left on this, and he's going to get there to make this 5th place happen. And he was able to hold off Noah Rai for that 5th place position. Final top 5 position here. Just gotta get to that top, and there's a flat and descent there waiting. Lars here, crossing the peak of Alpe d'Huez, the Zwift replication of the IRL Alpe d'Huez climb. 180 beats per minute. He is going to make it to the top here with a crazy time of around 49 minutes. That's probably going to be a personal best for him. And yeah, congratulations to this rider. Amazing ride. And I'm not sure I would have been able to keep up. Off to Noah Rai, who is about to make the final turn of this climb, and he is almost there. He is so close to that finish. He knows he is, and he's getting ready for that finishing kick to really show the rest of the riders who is boss. Coming in 6th place is going to be Noah Rai, Namdal SK, and ZU4R. Noah Rai here, just about to crest the top there. He's going to be going sub 1 hour, and he is so close. Pushing 200 watts now. He was able to finish 6th place in this race, and even higher in the GC, I believe. So, shout out to him, and thanks for joining. 187 beats per minute, 210 watts. This is Noah Rai you're watching right now. He is just about getting to the top, and he is definitely suffering It's amazing to see everyone give it their all in this race. He's just going to crest this little tippy top here, and then slight descent slash flat to the finish line. And he's just hit that 1 hour mark, but that's not his out time. His out time is that time minus 8 minutes. So he's going to be finishing around 52 minutes. Looks like he is just cresting the top there. And he's turning on that aero boost, pushing it up to 300 watts. Let's go. He's all the way. He's going all the way, bring the speed up, and he is going to finish this race strong. Okay, this is now Janko Wiak from Poland, and he is holding a great pace right now. Just doing that steady 115 to 120 until the finishing stretch, and he is so close to the finish. And he's got around 100 feet left to climb until he hits that top. Pushing 6 watts per kilo now. He is going to finish this race strong. Coming in 7th place. Really strong ride here. And he joined most of the stages. Very committed to this race. And I love seeing that. Right now, he's holding 113-ish. He's just making it to the top here. He's got like 50 feet left to climb, and then he's there. These 3 riders are all finishing pretty tight, within a minute 45 of each other. Janko Wiak is just finishing that off strong, pushing those extra watts, and he is going to get to the finish line here. Thank you for joining, and we're going to head over to Julian Jones from Mission Depot. Julian Jones here, making his way up the final turn, with Jalving only 17 seconds back, which is really, really close. And Jalving can actually pull this off if he just puts in a pretty big surge right here. 4.5 watts per kilo from Jalving. 19-second gap now. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Julian Jones holding strong on a TT bike up the Alp. That is something amazing to watch. TT bikes are quite heavy, I warn you, so I don't recommend using them up the Alp. But he did, and he held strong to really put out a strong finish. 8th place here, top 10 for him, and he is going to go sub 1 hour on the Alp. Congrats Julian, and thank you for joining. Yeah, Jalving now 17 seconds back. He's 16 seconds back now. This is going to be actually pretty close, so we're going to stick with them until the finish. Gap is still 16 seconds, and they are pushing on here. Gap down to 15 seconds. It's getting even closer between these 2 riders, and Jones is going to be able to pull it off, I think, but it is going to be a close one. Pushing close to 300 watts now. Way to finish it strong. He is now sprinting to the line. Everything he has left, 500 watts. Amazing. And he is going to grow his gap on Jalving. So once he gets to this peak here, he is going to be faster than Jalving. Okay, he finished the race. Xiaoving now, sporting the Wahoo kit. Looks like he is probably pretty new. Oh wait, no, he's got the Focus and some NV3.4s. So a pretty experienced rider we've got here. And he is doing amazing. I like that Focus color and great sense of style there. He's gonna finish this race strong, getting to the peak there, and he has done it. Sub 1 hour up to Zwift. Galbraith is going to be the second to last rider to finish after that amazing attack, and I think he could have done extremely well if he had saved his energy for the finish. This is going to be N. Galbraith from Pronto Bikes, the rider who did the original breakaway. He is going to be finishing the Alp with an amazing time of around 1 hour and 4 minutes. He's just getting to the top here. He's got a few more corners to crest before he makes it to the finish. He is going to round out the top 10 in this final stage of Tour4Kids, and seems to be bringing the power up a little bit to really just make it count for this final bit of the race. He's just got to get up this little hump, and then he is there at the finish of the Queen stage of Tour4Kids. Tour4Kids stage 6, the final stage, and this is looking to be a very strong race from everyone, and everyone gave it their all on this course. Extremely tough course that many Zwifters cannot complete in this quick of a time. He's just getting to the finish here. And he is finished. This is me. I'm just down the road. I'm suffering. Talking while riding is quite tough. So I'm gonna go silent. That was Oliver Chi you were watching, coming in last place. Congratulations to everyone who finished the race. I really appreciate everyone joining, and hope to see you all next edition.